Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. The Tiger King has taken the world by storm. It's given us a very needed distraction. There's definitely a lot of troubling things about it. The animal abuse, which I absolutely cannot stand or stomach. The human rights violations that we've seen portrayed in the show. And then there's another topic, which is what I really want to talk to you about today, which is probably, one of the most shocking for me personally. And that is the abuse of data. Of course, it doesn't compare to those other two, let me be clear. I'm not comparing, but something terrible happened in the show. And if you haven't seen it yet, I want to just say this will contain spoilers. So I would recommend that if you care about that sort of thing, pause, go watch the show, and then come back. So what am I referring to? I'm referring to Mr. Rick Kirkham. Bless his soul. He had all of his video footage for his documentary in one location, and that location burned down and destroyed all of his video footage. Gone. So brutal. This could have been prevented. So what I want to talk to you guys today is really data backup best practices so that you can avoid that situation. Just don't be like Rick Kirkham. So there's actually a pretty simple rule when it comes to correctly managing your data to prevent loss. And it's summarized by the 3-2-1 principle. And 3-2-1, easy to remember. What does that actually mean? So it means that you should have 3 copies of your data, and 2 of them should be local, okay? So 2 of them should be on some sort of physical drive locally at your disposal that you can access. And then one of them, one of those copies should be in the cloud, okay? So we're gonna talk about 3-2-1 and how it applies to different devices. It's important to kind of think about, the most important things on your phone, which is typically going to be photos. That's going to be, one of the biggest things that you're going to want to try to back up to make sure that those are protected and safe. You don't lose those. Contacts are another kind of big thing that people worry about when it comes to data on their phone. And then there's kind of everything else, right? There's app data, there's all these other things, okay? So I'm going to be talking about iPhone primarily because that's what I have. That's the platform I use the most, I'm most familiar with. There's lots of other good Android resources out there. But when it comes to the phone, typically I actually don't worry too much about doing a second local copy. So what you can do if you really wanted to do that would be you can go into iTunes and basically create a full copy of your phone. So you would plug it into your computer and then create a local backup. Now, I don't actually think that that's necessary when it comes to your phone, and here's why I say that. If you turn on the right cloud settings and you lose your phone, you won't actually lose anything. You'll be able to restore from a backup very easily, and you're gonna feel like the phone is exactly the same. You're gonna have to log in everything again. It's gonna be a pain in the butt, but I do think that that is primarily the best path to go. So here are the settings that you want to definitely make sure are set correctly on your phone, okay? So first is going to be some sort of photos storage, okay? So again, photos, of course, are super important to everyone. Take lots of photos on your phone. Fortunately, you can turn on iCloud Photo, which is Apple's integrated photos backup solution, okay? So you go into your settings, you go into iCloud, and then you want to turn on iCloud Photos, okay? So that means a copy of your photo, whatever you take on your phone, is automatically going to be uploaded to iCloud servers, and you don't have to worry about it. It's in the cloud, okay? Now, that's the one principle, right? then you have two options here that it gives you. So you can either optimize iPhone storage or download and keep originals. Now, this is really just going to be dependent on the storage size capacity of your device, but it's really just a practical setting where do you need to really have the most highest quality version of every single photo or video you take live on your device? And the answer is probably not. So I would recommend checking Optimize iPhone Storage, which again still keeps the copy in the cloud. You don't lose the high-res original. That's it saved in the cloud, but it just helps keep things a little bit lighter in terms of what's actually saved on your device. That is the photo option. And on Android, of course, you have Google Photos, which is their proprietary photo app, and it's going to work very similarly. So you can definitely back things up there. The next important thing is contacts, okay? And now contacts are a regular part of iCloud. And the trick is, though, that you have to actually be storing your contacts in iCloud. And the way that you check that, so first of all, as I was here, you have to turn on the switch, right? So this is part of iCloud. You have to flip that switch to on. And just make sure that that is where your contacts are being saved. And then again, you don't have to worry about it. They are automatically backed up, okay? So that is the two biggest kind of most important things that people are most worried about. And then there's kind of everything else, right? And so that's why it's really important to turn on what's called iCloud Backup. And this automatically backs up data such as accounts, documents, home configuration, settings, when the iPhone's connected to power, locked, and on Wi-Fi. So basically every night I plug in my phone, and it's obviously locked and it's on Wi-Fi. And so this backed up last night at 1 in the morning. So I just let that run every night because I just know that it's going to be backed up. This is important if, again, if you lose your device for some reason, you are able to restore from iCloud Backup and pretty much get your phone back in pretty much the same place. So apps are going to be in the same place, right? Everything's going to kind of be there as you left it. So I think that that's pretty cool, pretty important, something that you definitely want to do when setting up your device. You might run out of storage depending on the capacity that you have, right? And so, it's telling you how much storage you have and what types of things are using that up. You can share storage with your family. So you can buy an iCloud storage plan that other people can also leverage, which is really nice. So you don't have to have individual plans for everybody. It just really, again, depends on how many photos and videos you have, and then you can just increase that storage capacity if you really need to. So that pretty much takes care of the phone, so I don't worry about this. The only thing that I would recommend is some sort of redundancy, and redundancy is the key word, right? Redundancy is the principle behind this, is that you don't trust any one particular source to take care of everything. So for photos, right, these kind of irreplaceable things that are really special, those I actually have two redundant systems. I have Dropbox, so I save a copy of all of my phone photos into Dropbox just as a secondary precaution, and then Amazon Photos. So if you're a Prime member, you have the ability to upload photos to Amazon Prime as much as you want. And so I think that's just a good backup. I never trust any one solution completely, or any one storage provider, or any one company to forever take care of my data. So it's about kind of taking control of your own digital life and digital assets, so you just don't have to worry about these things. So that is the phone. When it comes to a computer, the 3-2-1 principle is a little bit more straightforward and actually applies a little bit more closely, right? Because you are more concerned about 2 copies of things locally and then the third in the cloud. When it comes to those local copies, this again is going to vary depending on your device. And so for Mac, there's actually a pretty straightforward way to do this, and it's something called Time Machine. So this is something that is in every single Mac computer in the world, and it's built-in software that's supposed to automate your backup process and recovery process to make it really easy, again, to get that second copy. The easiest way to install Time Machine is, first of all, you just need to buy an external hard drive. And what size do you need? Probably they recommend at least twice of the amount of size of the files that you're going to be backing up. If it's just your computer, which is for a lot of people, you're not necessarily having external drives of additional storage, then it would be twice the size of your computer's hard drive. But you can go much bigger than that. The bigger you go, that's totally fine. Basically, it just creates more version history of your files. So it just gives it more space to kind of do its work. Once you buy that external hard drive, you just hook it up to your Mac, and then the cool thing is that you can just let that run in the background, right? So it is going to back up on a regular basis, depending on the changes in the files that it detects as it's working through. And the coolest thing about Time Machine is, if, again, man, God forbid, something happens to your computer, your drive dies, you spill something on it, when you restore from Time Machine, you're basically restoring everything exactly the way that it was, which is super cool. So it's definitely a worst case scenario, easy way to get back up and running on your Mac computer. And the other cool thing is, let's say you make changes to a file, something happens, and you did not mean to do that. You want to go back in time, get it, and go jump in that Time Machine and go to an earlier version of that file. You're able to do that with Time Machine. So it's going to store snapshots of files over time, and you're able to go back and restore your machine as if you were going back in time to that point in time before, whatever happened, whatever changes that you didn't intend to make, you're able to fix that, right? So that is a super cool feature of Time Machine. It's really easy to set up, and honestly, I just let it go. I just let it run, right? Now let's talk about the true online backup solutions that are out there, okay? And there are several big players out in the market. I personally use a software called Backblaze. So what Backblaze does is, it's a software that lives on your computer, Windows or Mac, and again, just like your internal local backup solutions, it's constantly scanning your hard drives and monitoring for changes to files, okay? When it detects that, it is going to automatically send that file up to the cloud. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to do a thing. You can exclude certain areas from being backed up if you don't want those sent up in the cloud, but it's a really easy way to then send everything up to the cloud, and you don't have to worry about it. You can also do this with external drives that are attached. Backblaze is pretty affordable. I think it is, again, just an investment in that 321 to get that one copy off into the cloud. And then the greatest thing about Backblaze is, so again, let's say for whatever reason, God forbid, all of your local storage options are destroyed. So a big fire comes through, water damage. So your main copy, copy 1, copy 2 on your Time Machine, on your external backup, that's gone too. So Backblaze can send you a hard drive with all of your data on it. And it's the quickest way to get back up and running if you run into that situation, because then, instead of downloading gigabytes and gigabytes or terabytes of data, you have a drive. You can return that drive to them and get a refund back. So that is the reason why you would want to go with a cloud provider like that, is there is a pretty quick way to get all your data back. Backblaze also has the ability to download and restore kind of individual files, access files on mobile apps on iOS and Android. So that's another kind of bonus add-on feature. I don't personally use that much because I just don't. I haven't had an issue yet. Now, all this is being said, I've never had to restore something from Backblaze. Knock on this particle wood. So guys, that is overall, again, how you can avoid data catastrophe. It's really important. I know it's a pain, but now is actually a great time to do this, because a lot of internet providers, due to coronavirus, have waived their data limits. So it's a great time to upload and back up all of your stuff, because you're not going to have to worry about going over your Comcast, your AT&T data cap, which is usually around a terabyte. For the average person, again, these solutions are going to work pretty seamlessly without a lot of hassle, but you have to set them up. If you have any questions about how to set this up or anything, just leave them in the comments below. But again, this is super important, something that should be part of your quarantine, hygiene, organization list of things to work on. So don't be like Rick Kirkham. Please back up your data. Thank you so much for watching this edition of Stuff Adam Likes. Stay well and stay home if you can. Thank you, healthcare heroes. We really appreciate everyone on the front lines. It just is so important that we all kind of work together to flatten the curve, whatever we can do. Thank you so much. Take care.